Good afternoon, sir.
Very good afternoon. So I will wait for some more time for the students to join in. So Harilakshmi ma'am, please let me know when to start.
Okay, sir.
So all of you, please switch on your camera. And Harilakshmi ma'am, as you already Director sir has told that everybody has to present, and who are remaining, who has not done the presentation, has to present, because this is we need to do the review of all your presentations. And based on that, the star of the center also will be provided.
So we have already informed them, sir. They will present one then.
Yes. So while the others are joining, Harilakshmi ma'am, please call others so that they can join this session.
Okay, sir.
So how many of you know what is blockchain? Hello. How many? Yes, you can unmute and let me know what is blockchain.
Blockchain is a technology wherein shared responsibilities are created. For example, transaction ledger and all those things. Instead of one person creating, multiple stakeholders will be part of the chain, and they will be enabling the event to happen.
Okay. So any other views anybody has got on blockchain? Hello, Sister Infotech and others. I am only seeing very few participants today. Hello, Vaishali Computers.
No, sir, we don't have any idea.
Sorry, I can't hear you. Can you please repeat? Is others able to hear her?
No, sir.
Hello, sir. This is Sunita from Vaishali Computer, L2. Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, Sunita, you can continue here. Able to
Yeah,
hear you.
ma'am. All my students have submitted, ma'am, presentation. All 3 groups completed.
What about the others? 16 Infotech, Hubli, you have completed?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
From 16 Infotech, all the 6 group have submitted, ma'am.
Sabyasachi sir's presentation you have completed.
Yes, ma'am.
Hubli you have completed. Hubli team.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so Harilakshmi ma'am, let me tell you which are the centers has not done the presentation, right? So
Okay.
KTC Hubli has done it. Thank you, students. Vaishali Computers has done it. Thank you again. Then we have got VVS Shahapur. So VVS Shahapur, I think three teams are still pending. So Harilakshmi ma'am, if you can please ask them to present today. And today is the last day. And we are only going to go through the presentations and complete it. Next is, we have not got any presentation from SSC Haveri. There are two teams. Then Chandrakant Technologies.
I'll call them.
And Oasis Academy.
They have
Then-
also not joined.
Then Vaishnavi Computers. So they are supposed to present today because Setha mentioned that they had some exams. So they are going to present today. Can you please check with Setha and the team? And Anupama Patel also on this. They'll do also, please check with them because they are supposed to present today.
Okay, sir. Give me
Next
2 minutes
is,
time. I'll call them.
yeah, next is Dynamic Infotech Kundapura. So they have also not presented, and they also mentioned that today they are going to present. There are 5 teams. Next is Vishwas Technology Mysore. So they have presented. Next is Uday Technologies Mysore. Sister Infotech has presented, so thank you. And Kavita Computers has presented. Again, thank you. So those are the teams who has not presented. So I will request them to present, please.
Okay. Who are the L2s are there? I'll just ask them, sir. Anupama,
Dynamic
will they
Infotech.
be able to? VVS Shapur, sir. Anupama Patel, you are there,
Yes,
no?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am, I am there.
Will they
Ma'am,
be able
students
to other 2 teams?
no, ma'am, because of exams, we will present on the next week.
No, sorry, next it's not acceptable. Then we will mark it absent and we will tell to Sarit sir, the director. This is not acceptable. Sorry. So it's been going on for basically every week. So then it will be very difficult because other students are also waiting to learn new areas and topics. So today is the last day for the presentation. So I will request all of you to do the presentation.
Okay.
Shweta?
And
Shweta?
generally, I don't think Sunday there will be any exams, and this is only a presentation. They can do the presentation, and after that, 10 minutes they can leave the call.
Shweta?
Yes, ma'am.
Shweta, are you there?
Yes,
What
yes,
about
ma'am.
Vaishnavi Infotech and Dynamic Infotech?
They told they'll be presenting it, ma'am.
I don't think they have joined, Shweta.
I'll just check it, ma'am. Check it.
Yes.
Okay.
All 3
So-
from Mysore. Sorry to disturb
Actually,
you.
2 batches have submitted, 2 centers have submitted, ma'am. Uday Technologies and Vishwas Technologies, they have done drone presentation.
Vaishnavi and Dynamic Infotech Kundapura is left, no, Shweta?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. They have.
Those 2 centers they will do.
Yes, ma'am.
What about Kavita Computers, Gulbarga? Hello? Somebody from Kavita Computers are there, no? Kavita Computers, Kalburgi.
Madam, they presented last time. I'm just waiting for all of you to present because based on that, I can keep basically the ratings, right? If some of you are presented and others has not presented, I won't be able to do the justice to the other teams. So I will request whatever is your situation, please come and present today. In corporate world, you cannot say that I have got another things and assignments and I cannot do a presentation or I cannot complete it, right? So now after this, you will be joining any corporates or you will start your own enterprise as a budding entrepreneur. So you have to take an extra mile to complete your work. So Harilakshmi ma'am, please ask the teams to join. So till then, students who has joined. So thank you on time. So blockchain is basically an invention that could change our world. You have seen about the Bitcoins, right? How Bitcoin has changed the world and the transactions. So blockchain technology is a very practical solution to the problem of storing authentical and protecting the data. Think of a blockchain as a decentralized, extremely secure database, or to get slightly more technical, it is a distributed peer-to-peer ledger of records. So that is why it is called distributed ledger. Blockchain represents a huge leap forward compared to our current data security technology, as unlike to a centralized database, and there is no single point of failure.
Morning, sir.
Hello, yes, good
Sir,
morning.
your screen is not visible, sir.
I'm not sharing anything. I'm just talking to the students because I don't want to present today anything. I just wanted to get the presentation from all of you.
Okay.
So we will do the presentation in the next session because this has been going on and on. And this is not acceptable because when I ask for a presentation, you have to come prepare and do the presentation. It is not to you. It is basically to your fellow students. The records is a blockchain are called the blocks. As you know, it is block by block that is been done. And each blocks is interlinked, and that is why call is a blockchain. So what happens is that in a block, you have got the hash, and that is basically represent the previous hash so that you know that from which block it is interrelated. Similarly to the next block, when it goes, it is basically the hash has got this, each block has got its number, and that numbers will also be, the digits will be there into the next block. So that is how it is interlinked one to another. And that is why it is called the blockchain, right? So the records in the blockchain are called the blocks, and every block is connected to the previous block, hence the block and the chain, right? The whole chain is self-managed, which means there is no person or an organization in the change of the entire chain. So it is basically distributed to all the people who are there into this blockchain. That is why it is very difficult to hack a blockchain and basically break those codes. And that is why in future, more and more blockchain technology will come up, and you will find who are wanted to pursue into this career, there are a lot of opportunities. If that sounds familiar, it might be because the virtual currency Bitcoin functions on blockchain technologies. There are multiple blockchain technologies that have been used. The financial services, insurance, healthcare are just some of the sectors where blockchain likely to be heavily be adopted. In fact, 90% of the major European and North American banks are exploring blockchain solutions. Just wanted to give you understanding how the blockchain works and where it works. Of course, the presentation on blockchain or others I will do in the next session. I was just waiting for others to join in so that you have got some inputs for others start the presentation. So Harilakshmi ma'am, so it's already 15 minutes past. So which are the teams here to present?
They are not ready, sir. Some of them have not joined also. Whoever is available now, for them only you can evaluate, sir. Whoever given the presentation. Hello. Are you able to hear me, sir?
Yeah, I'm able to hear. I'm just waiting for the others to join, sir. Ma'am.
We are trying their phones. Some of their phones are switched off. Sir, you can continue the.
Okay, students, I think I will basically go to a new topic. And since very less student is here today, and blockchain is basically a topic I will explain to you in the next session, because others also is a very important topic where I think a lot of you will be interested to know. And in fact, in today's session, I will walk you through a new area and also give you the assignment for the next month's presentation. And in this case, whoever is not presenting, of course, they will be marked absent, and I will give you the date on the next month of the assignment that you need to do a presentation. So, Harilakshmi ma'am, is any team is going to present, or we can start the session?
Yes, sir.
Is any team is going to present? before I start the presentation?
No, sir. You can start the presentation.
I think
Some of them have not joined.
Yeah. Okay. Let me share my screen. Are you able to see my screen? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Now
Sir.
I'm going to talk you to basically smart cities. In the previous also session, I talked to you. And so smart cities, why I'm putting a stretch on the smart cities is that, as you know, billions and billions of dollars will be invested in the smart cities. You have seen in the previous also, in India itself, a large number of cities, we have basically decided to go for smart cities. Some of the cities, you know, in Karnataka, also like Mysore, a part of Bangalore, they are going to plan for a smart cities. In fact, one city in Saudi Arabia, Neon City, right? They are going to invest more than $500 billion. So what we see is that the word smart means there will be a lot of AI involved into that. And since you are also studying into this area, what we foresee is that there's going to be huge potential for all of you into this area. See, what I'm trying to provide you is the technology or the latest technologies, right? Where I foresee is that you're going to have a huge impact in your future. You can think through, those are the areas, if you want to develop yourself, you can basically have a lot of opportunities, right? Now, going into the smart city, if you see why we want to go to the smart city. Now, let me hear from you, some of you, why you think the government and also basically the industries and the people are looking for smart cities. Yeah. Please let me know. Yes, students. Hello, students. Yeah, tell me.
So that,
Yeah.
so that the citizens of the smart city can live a peaceful and smart lifestyle, wherein by consuming lesser resources, they can produce more of the outputs. They can live in a productive way. That's the purpose of the making the cities smart.
Okay. So one of the important thing, as you know, is to make the life more congenial. And with the advancement of technologies, what we foresee is that we want to live in a way which is more automated, where you want to get the things in a much easier way. For example, you're working, right? Now, you want to have in such a connected way, right? If when you come home, automatically your security system is basically is there so that no trespasser can enter. Once you enter your house, automatically the lights are on. When you go to your fridge, automatically based on the quantity or basically what is available, automatically order has been given to a nearby grocery shop. So you have got already the product in your doorstep. For example, you have got milk, right? So for is a particular section in the fridge where you have stored your milk. Now, based on the amount of quantity of milk available there, the fridge automatically detects, right? Again, using the IoT, and automatically orders to the nearby grocery shop. So already your milk is already available in your doorstep. So you don't have to worry when you come back home. Similarly, depending upon the washing machine, what is the lowest rate of the electricity charges on that day it runs so that it saves you energy. For example, you have got solar panel in your house. depending upon the price, the grid takes the maximum price you are available, it sends to the grid. So your revenue or selling the electricity to the grid increases. So as you can see in a smart way, how you can manage and monitor. For example, the AC, depending upon the temperature, right? It automatically adjusts, and in your house, automatically you are basically having a life which you can enjoy. Similarly, all the IoT is getting connected. For example, the apps and everything is working, and it's making your life much and much easy. The traffic signal, for example, is connected to each other. So what happens nowadays? You get a red signal, you go, next is also red signal, you get frustrated, right? For example, you want to go from your Unix to the airport. And if you get one after another red signals, you will not feel happy. But if the whole traffic system is automated, right, then basically when there is a green signal, the next also becomes green. And this is how basically in a smart city, the interconnected basically devices can help. So it basically makes your life more and more smooth and easy. Similarly, the most important thing is that how you can use renewable energy to have less carbon. So the pollution level is less, so that you are living in a society or in a city where you can breathe freely and you can have more fresh air. Think of you going to the Delhi and in India, and the pollution level is so high that you need to wear a mask, though it's not COVID, right? Similarly, if I have traveled to Beijing, in fact, when I landed to Beijing, my colleagues immediately given me a mask because the level of pollution was so high. And in fact, in the evening also, I was not willing to go out too much because of the pollution level. So as you can see, this all affects basically the business in that city also. And if the income of the city comes reduces, what will happen? The impact of the economic of that whole area gets diminishes, isn't it? So that is why more and more you see the smart cities is going to come up. So don't think that the smart cities will be around each and every place, because that has also got huge investments. So there will be basically small towns, small cities, and they will be coexisting with the smart cities. Any question, students?
No, sir.
Now you have seen basically what is happening around. You have seen how the world is getting changed, and you have seen that one after another banks or the financial institutes in USA is falling after one after another like a pack of cards. This is a destructive economy you are seeing around. You're seeing what is happening with the Russia-Ukraine war, where the war has basically increased the cost of living. Because Russia and Ukraine used to supply more than 30% of the wheat, barley, maize, and sunflower, and basically the oil seeds. So there is a major disruption that is happening. So with this disruption, you will see the whole economy and the dynamism is also changing. There will be smart ways of moving the goods. The logistics has to be much smarter. So how you can basically move from one place to another, that one need to look into. Maybe you have seen recently in the newspaper that has come, or in the media, that there is a corridor that is getting set up that is called the North to South, where basically from St. Petersburg to Mumbai, they are expecting in 10 to 12 days the goods to be supplied. Otherwise, in a normal way, in the ships, if they have to pass through the Suez Canal, it takes around 45 days. So if there is a major reduction into the transport of the goods and services from India to Europe, right? So what you will see is that the business will increase multiple times. Yes, somebody want to say something? Yes, tell me.
A few minutes back, you were sharing the slides of that smart city, but your screen has gone blank.
No, I've stopped sharing. I will share it again. I just wanted to have your views before I share. So I just wanted to understand your views. Now, I want to take you some of the pros and cons also of the smart cities. Right? Now, what is the impact that is happening around the world? So let's go and understand that also. Okay, let me share it again. Now, are you able to see my screen, right?
Yes, sir. It's good.
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Yes, tell me.
Sir, you are telling about the positive things of smart city. Is there any negative effect of smart city?
Yes, very good question. May I know your name, please?
Sinchana, sir, from Sasti Infotech, Kundapur.
Very good. Now, in fact, there are a lot of negative impact in the smart cities also. For example, the person who's going to stay in the smart cities has to pay more on the rental, pay more on the property tax, because you will have the cost here will be much more than the small cities or the towns, right? Now, since this will be becoming more smart and congenial to you, you have to pay a price for it. Also, we will go some of the cities in China where it is called the ghost cities of China. Just to let you know, there are 60 million houses in China where people do not live, right? So they have invested huge money on this infrastructure. Just to let you know, in China, around 30 to 40% of the economy is based of the GDP is based on real estate. To have a basically boom into their economy, to show the GDP growth, they have invested heavily on real estate. In fact, thinking that they are going to create future towns and cities where people is going to live. Why they have done it? Because they want to give basically job to those people. And whenever there is an investment in the infrastructure, there will be huge increase into the ancillary industries. For example, the cement manufacturing industries, huge demand for them, the steel, right? Similarly, the people who are going to work there is going to get their wages. And when they get their wages, for example, they're going to buy FMCG goods, right? Like soap, clothes, right? Boots. And what will happen if they've got money? They will send their kids to the education, the universities, colleges, everything will boom. So as you can see, what is happening? So they want to create an artificial boom into the economy of using this real estate. You have seen some of the major real estate companies in China, for example, one having almost $400 billion of being collapsed and being into bankrupt. Similarly, there is a trimmers and some of the Chinese real estate companies are going bankrupt. In fact, you will be amazed to know in China, there are basically real estate or the cities where people do not even live, or they have bought real estate or apartments where there is not even a window. Of course, we will do a deep dive to understand those scenarios and areas where in China, we will take it as a case study where they have made huge investment where people are not paying and staying. Let me go then directly to China, maybe for example, since you have mentioned, and of course, we'll come to this later on. Right? So let us go and see what China says.
Property prices were collapsing around the globe. The Chinese government took action swiftly with a massive stimulus package, which just didn't help stabilize and revive the Chinese economy. It became a lifeline to the world. With a country building a city the size of Chicago every year, sometimes things always don't go as planned. This is China's largest ghost city. China's most deserted ghost town, Kangbashi, Ordos. Would you ever want to live in a deserted city?
So maybe not you all know what is Kingbasi is. It is basically in the inner Mongolia. So In fact, they set up this whole Kingbasi city, thinking huge investment they made, thinking that people will come and stay. Okay. Of course, how they want to retrieve basically the whole economy there, you will see in this video. So let's go and watch how they are forcing the people of China to move there also.
We all know China is one of the fastest growing countries in the world. With new roads and world-famous infrastructures rising faster than ever, China builds beautiful and diverse cities of culture. While China builds new cities, inhabiting these big cities will take much longer than expected. Hundreds of kilometers west of Beijing, in the arid deserts in Inner Mongolia, is Ordos, China. A new, infamous city was born. With generous roads and gorgeous infrastructures, this city, built from scratch, shocked the world for something they did not quite have.
Microsoft just announced the death of every office worker. Yes, it's true.
People. This ghost town is called Kangbashi District, infamous for its empty streets, abandoned high-rises, and deserted homes. The question is, why was Kangbashi called a ghost town? Journalists flocked to Kangbashi from the BBC, Al Jazeera, and highlighted the lack of people living in the city. Statements quickly spread, earning a global reputation with many names: a ghost town, dead city, a failed dystopian. This new city soon gained infamous headlines, showcased not for all the things it already had, but for what it lacked, namely citizens.
From a town in Inner Mongolia where gleaming buildings built with government money stand empty.
Welcome to the city of Ordos, a city of the future. But no one's moved in. The city stands empty. This is what Ordos looked like 2 years ago, a city of the future in the middle of nowhere. To our confusion, no one lived in Ordos.
They tell us that almost every single one of these apartment units have been sold, but no one is living in any of them.
So you can see such a huge city, all the apartments is already sold, right? Yes, student. Isn't it amazing?
Yes, sir.
Right? A city where all the apartments is sold and nobody is staying. Okay. So tell me, why you think all the apartments have been sold in China? Any idea? Yes, student.
You can't create a smart cities, but existing cities you can develop into smart cities.
It's not existing city, right? It is done from the scratch. It was in the desert in Inner Mongolia. Nothing was there, right? So anybody, any other person wants to have any other view? Any other view, any other person?
Hello, sir.
Yes, tell me.
This is Sriram Kamath, L4 from Shristi Infotech.
Yes, tell me.
So, regarding the Ordos city, so did the people like they bought all the houses or apartments like assets, and they're not like they're dead assets now, so they are not moved in, but they have invested the money and bought the apartments. Is that the case there, sir?
Yes, yes, somewhat right. Can you please come on the now? Can you switch on your camera, please?
Yeah, I'm sitting right behind the students, sir.
Okay, great. So you have to understand, right, about the geopolitics. Because as a student, what makes you different from others? If you do not understand what is going around you, how can you develop the software? How you can take a decision? How you will manage? In China, you have to understand the people, when they're earning, the stock market is absolutely at stumbles. There is no investment opportunities. So the people of China who are earning there, they're earning good amount of money. So what they do, they think to buy a real estate, not for staying there, just as an investment in future. So they can basically sell this to another people at a higher rate. And that is how basically they make investment. So I mentioned to you a flat and an apartment without any door or a window, right? They're basically, it's kind of an asset they want to own in their name. Not for staying, but thinking I don't have any other alternatives with me, right? It basically in China, it's very, very, very restricted. When I go to China, my WhatsApp not working, my Facebook not working, my Instagram is not working, nothing is working. My Gmail is not working. If I have to be there, I have to use WeChat, which is a Chinese similar to WhatsApp, right? I will be in my mobile phone. I will have international roaming. I will be getting messages in Chinese language. That means you cannot do anything. You are absolutely cut off from the global internet, right? So in that country, the options are very, very, very limited. Think of a person's with full amount of the retirement funds, whole earnings, what he has saved for a real estate, right? You correctly said, if it goes the bank, so the real estate companies go for bankruptcy, nothing in your hand. So millions of Chinese yuan, in China, the currency yuan, if you have invested in that property, at end of the day, you find nothing. There was some protest, but after that, what happened? China is very restricted. You cannot do anything. So it's lost. And that is where you will find internally in China, people are becoming unhappy and unhappy. It's basically a balloon, any moment to burst. Of course, with strong arms, they're trying to hold it. So China, why I'm saying, because there are still more than 60 million apartments or houses which are constructed where people are not staying. So some of you ask, basically, what are the bad effects of smart cities? So I just wanted to explain to you. So you need to understand here where the people has got no other option to do with their savings, right? So what they do, they want to have an apartment. So at least their kids, for example, can, when they want to go for education, the cost in education in China is also very high. So at least they can sell it and they can have some money, or in the future, after the retirement, they will have some money on this. And that is how they invest on properties. So that is basically a phenomenon what we see in China. Okay, so any other question before we move on to the video?
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Very good, very good. Thank you. So let's move.
And also, we can see a pattern in China's mega projects.
Sorry, I can't hear you. Can you please repeat?
We can see a pattern in China's mega projects being implemented, sir, like their CPEC road in Pakistan, or airport in Sri Lanka, or airport in Nepal. They have got huge funds, and with those funds, they build the projects which may not run according to their capacities.
Yes, very good point. Now, if you see basically the Pakistan, the CPAC corridor, right, where officially they have spent more than $60 billion, and it's not working because it runs through the Balochistan. It's very, very unrest. They cannot use it, right? Now, what happens? They have done in Sri Lanka, the port you are saying, because Sri Lanka actually it was not able to pay, so it's another way of doing the land grabbing. So they have taken that land or the port for 99 years. In Africa also, they have done huge investments, and of course, they're not getting the return. See, the thing is that if you remember why I talked about the finance, I went you through basically balance sheet, profit and loss, the returns. Maybe that time who are not from finance background, maybe thinking, why to learn finance? Because when you make an investment, you need to think that if you don't get a proper return in future, if your investment, if you don't have an ROI, or in the finance term, the internal rate of return IRR, what will happen? It will become negative. And ultimately, any business or any investment is made for profit. If you do not have a return, the money you invested will be lost. And if you basically, your net worth come decreasing and decreasing, what will happen in future? You yourself will become insolvent, right? So what will happen? You will become bankrupt. So this Chinese decision of basically doing business, because these are all linked to high interest rates. People of Pakistan do not understand. They were thinking that they're getting billions of dollars. They will flourish, right? What is happening? ultimately it becomes only a dream to them. Because as you can see, the CPAC road whole project has not got completed. The whole infrastructure is there, some part of there, and some part it is not there. So what is happening? They cannot utilize it properly. And if they can utilize properly, but the Pakistan government, with such a huge financial problem, they have to pay interest to the China because they have taken a loan at high interest rate. It is not they get from the World Bank or Asia Development Bank. If you get a loan, there will be terms, but you get a very, very less interest rate. Now, if your interest rate is very, very high, now the people from finance can understand very easily, it will be an unviable project. And if it becomes an unviable project, what will happen? Before seeing the day of the light, it will already be a collapsed project, or it will be a sunk project. And that is what is happening to the countries. So what we will see, those countries or those projects, if they're not viable, they're going to get a big pinch. And whose money you are investing in? It is basically the common man's money. See, any government like China or this thing, right? It is not basically the government has got money. It is basically the people of China's money that is getting invested in other countries. Similarly, I will come to the Ukraine-Russia war. Now, a lot of donations Ukraine is getting, right? Arms and ammunitions and this thing. But think through on that. If a country is not producing and getting basically donation from other countries, right? It is basically the government of that country also need to think through to stop the war as soon as possible, rather than giving donation to Ukraine. Because for UK, USA, it is basically the common man's money that is going into Ukraine, for example. Now, what is happening in those countries? Already the inflation is going up. Take for Germany, the electricity bill has already gone by 5 times. In case of UK, if you go, already the price rise is on very, very high. When I went to US also, the people, in fact, the local people are also saying the prices has gone up very, very high, right? So actually it is pinching the pockets. Now, what we need to think through is that how we can stop this war and basically make all the necessary things at a reasonable price. The energy, food, all those things, right? So that is what one should look into, and look into the humanity first before making more profit or thinking how we can dictate the overall war. Okay. Any question before I move on to the video? I hope this is interesting.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
says from Sister Infotech, any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, great. So let's go to the video.
The building hasn't stopped. Somehow people are convinced that if you keep building, people will come.
It's a ghost city with ghost apartments. No host or hostess, just ghost owners.
So the incentives in the system are to build. And if that's the easiest way to achieve that growth, then you build.
So local officials here built. Empty homes, new and neat. Block after block.
In 2009, this city was in a constant stream of criticism from international media. According to the media, Kambashi had been the recipient of a Chinese financial crisis. The international media sensationalized about Kambashi and commented municipal debt, oversupply, or bankrupt developers to attract readers. Many media outlets have declined to return to the area or offer a follow-up update, and that is what we're about to do now. Savvy reporters from the Times Magazine and Al Jazeera did not ask municipal governments before making any.
So again, I just want to check with you. Al Jazeera is basically a news channel of which country? Some quiz. Pardon? Sorry, I can't hear you. Can you please repeat again?
From Qatar, sir.
Yes, from Qatar, absolutely. Now, you need to know, Qatar is basically an oil and gas producing country. The revenue is there. Now, if you see Qatar Airlines, they want to diversify because it is what they're selling will, after some years, will see end of their life, right? Oil and gas is for some years. after that, what they will do. So they have invested heavily on, for example, Qatar Airlines. Al Jazeera is one of their media channel and outlet where they wanted to basically compare with BBC, Sony, and other entertainment channels, this thing, and news channels. So that is why you will see Al Jazeera coming here and there in multiple news, because that is where the government is spending a lot of amount of money, because that is where they want to diversify. Similarly, you will find what's happening in Saudi and the Middle East. They also know that after some time, they will not be able to sell oil and gas because it's got a life. Next is that the world of EV is coming, the renewable energy people started using. So the demand for them will come down. Just think in India, already India is saying 2030, we are not going to use the fossil fuel to run our cars. We will have basically renewable energy, EV batteries or hydrogen fuel to run our cars, bikes, and everything. Think of that, then what will those countries do? So what they're trying to do, they're trying to create an alternative environment, an alternative business scenario, or basically using huge investment on the real estate and smart cities. So you will find multiple such smart cities are coming up in Saudi Arabia. NEOM is one of them. That is why with this change in the economy, the change in the dynamism, the business that is happening, right? The dynamic world, you need to also think how you can adapt yourself to this changing world and look forward to this new ecosystem of opportunities that is coming to you, right? So you need to grab these opportunities and think through how best you can able to enhance yourself with your skills to basically enable yourself to work on those new areas. So for me, I'm just trying to give you those areas, or basically the areas what I foresee is basically going to be the mega trends or changes that is come. And you need to be prepared yourself to go into those areas, right? So any questions?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, let's go and watch the video.
These statements. In fact, what was glossed in these reports is only the surface of Kambashi's progress. The city's construction only began a mere 6 years before. That is not enough time to finish a new city and have it fully populated, something Western media did not understand. In fact, this isn't one of the first time that China got the reputation of a ghost city. Pudong was one of the first ghost cities, now a prominent global financial district of Shanghai.
So you can see the Shanghai, which you know currently, right? Where around 28 million people are staying, is started long time back as a ghost city. So that was China was thinking, creating the infrastructure before. If you go to China, you will find the roads are so wide and this thing, because in there, if they want to basically bulldoze any houses, malls, and this thing, they don't mind. So that is basically being China. They had that, but of course, in cities like Bangalore or Mysore, you cannot do it. You've got a lot of restrictions on this thing. That is why the development here is very slow. But of course, where they do very, very fast speed, they basically construct these huge, large complexes and buildings, right? So you can see those towers and buildings, which is 70, 80-story buildings, right? So that is how they constructed those huge structures and started building cities. So they were thinking that they will basically in future, they will be able to do a lot of business because the lot of foreign investment will come, because generally any foreign investment that comes, they want to see how good is the infrastructure. Because infrastructure is very, very critical, right? I was giving you an example of the north to south corridor, because the duration time between you are producing your goods to the reaching to the customer, his has to be bare minimum. If you remember, in case of finance, I was talking about how many times you can revolve your working capital, right? Now, the turnover of your basically the production the working capital you can do, it will actually help you reduce your working capital cost, and that will help you increase your profitability. So every businessman or every investment is looking to that. See, if you want to produce one thing and if it reaches the customer after 3 months, again, you have to give a 3 months of credit to the customer. After 6 months, if you receive, what will happen? You will have to block your fund for 6 months, right? That means you have to take a huge loan from the bank to continue your production. And what will happen? It will increase your cost of your goods. Isn't it, student? Hello,
Yes,
students.
Yes, sir.
So you need to understand, when I'm basically providing you a whole picture, what happens? Generally, people see in a picture, for example, an elephant, somebody see the trunk, somebody see the tail, somebody see the leg. But when you're looking, you need to see the whole picture, you have to see the whole elephant. So that is what is the most important and critical for you. Until unless you look in the totality what is happening around you, later on, when you go into the corporate world, you start your own companies or business, right? Or as an entrepreneur, it will be very difficult to take a strategic decision. Okay, so let's continue again.
Kembashi is an urban district of the prefecture-level city of Ordos in Inner Mongolia, China. Built on the wasteland of Inner Mongolia, was constructed to accommodate the number of investors in this booming mining town. During that time, coal and natural gas made Ordos one of the richest places in China. The Chinese government thought Kembashi was going to be one of the fastest growing cities in China. However, in 2009, plans fell apart due to the Ordos and world financial economic crisis.
So how many of you know 2008 financial crisis, 2008 and 9 financial crisis? Yes, students. Are you? Yes, tell me.
So we started because of American home loan mortgage crisis. Started with Penny Bank and Ready Make, those and Lehman Brothers. So
Yes, the Lehman Brothers collapsed in a absolutely, the Goldman Sachs and everybody got tumbled, right?
Yes.
And that created a whole worldwide recession. The job market suddenly vanishes. And there was a huge recession around the world. Of course, India withstanded it because India was a growing market. In India, you do not see the effect, but around the world, there was a major, major impact, right?
Yes.
So what happened with this financial imbalances around the world, the recession that followed? The China was thinking it will have a booming economy globally. With this recession, what happened is that their real estate market also collapsed. So what happened is that this is a phenomenon how their future plan went into a big problem and Kanbasi becomes a ghost town. Let's again go and watch the video. Any question before I go there?
No, sir.
No, sir.
And now, Ordo City, Kambashi New Area, is frequently described by the news media as a ghost city. This 90 square mile town was built to house 1 million people. The idea behind Kambashi was for it to serve as an administrative center of government offices and Ordos municipality of the middle and upper class residents.
3 crores. So 3 crores is average salary of a prompt engineer working in USA.
Ordos municipality is divided up in various districts, towns, and sub-cities. The most prominent is Dongshang and Kambashi. This modern and futuristic city is perfect. Its only flaw was its ambitious size. For the first 5 years, the population of Kambashi had no more than 30,000 inhabitants.
See what happened in Kanbasi. Such a huge investment they have done. They're thinking at least 1 million people will come and stay, right? But only 30,000 people were staying. So China, as you know, they made a smart move. They said they created some very good universities in Kanbasi. You will come into the video next part. And they mentioned the students who will be getting admitted there need to have a residential house. Means now the parents has to invest in Kanbasi, right? Or basically the students will come, then at least there will be some, basically business will come in, because the students, if come in the hostel, they will need food, they will require local transport, they need to stay there. So this is how basically the host city, they wanted to basically have some more people. Okay, so let's go and watch.
The vast area was too large to fill in a short amount of time, with streets 40 meters wide and intersections half a kilometer apart. This wide gap physically separated people and destinations. However, the emptiness of Kambashi is a deception. This new Chinese city is far from dead. The original plan for Kambashi is 1 million people by 2023. And we all know the progress of China. In the middle of 2019, Ordos and the government of China secretly reversed the town's fortune with one amazing strategy. Ordos, with the help of the government, moved some of the city's top schools to Kambashi, which meant if the parents wanted their children to get the best education, parents had to move their children to Kambashi. Putting such top prestige schools was not originally in the strategy, but it was the right strategic move. Parents did move their children to Kambashi, and the population slowly added in numbers, slowly bringing this city the life it deserved. Certain regulations had to be followed. If parents wished to send their young children to a school in a particular district, they must also own a home in the exact district. Teachers also relocated because of cheap relocation taxes, discounted homes, and tax breaks offered. Soon, businesses and restaurant franchises such as McDonald's and Subway followed suit. With subsidized rent, free transportation, and low property taxes, people started flocking into Kambashi. In 2020, the population of Kambashi grew from a measly 30,000 to a whopping 200,000 people. Today, 200,000 people drive in the streets of Kambashi, thriving in its once desolate town, with cinemas, art center, sports fields, opera houses, shopping centers, and horse racing fields. More than 2.8 million tourists visited Kambashi in 2019 alone. Awed by the elegant landscape and the cutting-edge technology, this modern district has been graded as China's first 4A level scenic area. In 2019, about 85% of the condominiums in Kambashi had been sold and have wealthy Chinese and foreign owners. This large city has now expelled its reputation as China's ghost town, thriving in education, business, entertainment, and tourism. The place now has over 4,500 businesses, operating 2 plants for electric car productions and 30-story tech tower. So much for calling it a ghost town now. Talk about growth. With the area's ghost town status seemingly shaken off, the local government began approving condominium construction for the first time in 8 years. As many as 10 new projects are set to be green-lighted by the end of the year.
Right? So what you understand, students? Yes, students. So Tell me what you understand from this small video.
Yes. So because there were no residents moving to Shanghai, so the government came up with the amazing strategy. So they made the topmost or the very best universities and schools and colleges in the Shanghai area, a city, and they made a
It's not Shanghai.
tactical move.
Shanghai was already basically now it's a very developed. This is Kanbasi. See what happens.
Sorry, Kambaksh.
Yeah. So that is in Inner Mongolia, and it's very, very cold there. You can understand. You get the Siberian winds, right? It's a desert. In the middle of the desert, they have created this city.
Yes.
Now, you can understand that they made such huge investments, right? Without any future, basically, thought that they will be having industries or people will be coming and staying. But they wanted to create the infrastructure, keep it ready, basically, so that factories and other things will come. Right. So
yes,
if you remember, if you know about Foxconn, and in fact, that is basically that from Taiwan, those who are basically supplied to Apple phone, right? In one of the factory, around 1 million people work. That means around 10 lakh people works. It's like a city itself. A good thing is that those Foxconn is making a huge investment. Already, they're going to make investment in Andhra, Tamil Nadu, and Bangalore, near Bangalore. Already near Bangalore, they've taken 300 acres of land, where they're planning to have around 1 lakh people, basically based factory they're going to create. So who are interested into that area? Of course, any industry that comes, please understand, there will be multiple subsidiary industries that also need to come around, right? Because they need basically a lot of electronic parts. They need basically engineers, because programming those. So you can see, once it's such a smart city developed, then you basically have a lot of businesses around it. Now think of this. If us in like for near Bangalore, if you have got a smart city, then we would have started immediately, right? But now to get it constructed, it will take 3 years, right? To create a city to be created. Now, for us in India, what is happening? As you were saying, some pros and cons. I'm just coming to that, right? Now, the con is that we have not made that investment. We have not done that infrastructure development. So to get that factory, to get those booming into the economy, it will get delayed. It will be slow. By that time, unfortunately, there should not be any change in the technology, because technology is also moving very, very fast. So China, what they wanted to do, they wanted to create the infrastructure ready, because any company who are wanted to go and establish the factory or a plant, they can immediately do that, because already the infrastructure is ready. For example, I was in north part of China. I went there. That is the world's biggest BMW factory, where basically every 3 minutes of BMW is coming out. As you know, BMW is very, very costly car, and they wanted to basically supply to basically the lower end band of the BMWs to China, and higher end they want to export globally. Now, it's a huge plant they have created, right? And the road from the place I have my hotel to this is a absolutely huge straight road they have created, right, out of nowhere, when they started the infrastructure. So they have spent huge amount of money on the infrastructure, and that is why basically a lot of manufacturing companies has gone to China. But slowly, the relationship between the US and China is deteriorating because of Taiwan and other issues. And that's why you will see a lot of factories are moving out of China and coming to Vietnam, India, Philippines, Bangladesh. So a lot of other countries they want to establish. So here also you can see a lot of opportunities that will also come into your way. Right? Any question? Yes, student.
No, sir.
Okay, so let me share my screen and walk you through. So I want you to be more interactive. I hope you're finding it interesting.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Okay. So let me go to the beginning, and of course we'll come to this later. I've got another video on China because I don't want to show you the two China video together. We'll come to
And also, I think there is a correlation between the GDP of the country and the urbanization.
GDP is one thing, right? Because you need to understand, for example, the GDP, right? The GDP, if a country, 40% on the real estate. Now, if one sector get basically hit, it becomes a very, very problematic for that country. Now, in case of China, if you do not have a proper growth and if your real estate getting a hit, and you have seen such large real estate companies going bankruptcy, people are not willing to invest, then basically there will be a degrowth that we are going to see in future, right? So that is one of the cons what we are going to see. That is why you need to have a well diversified. Since you are from finance background, you know when you do an investment, that's why we always say have a diversified portfolio, right? So that you can, if anything comes down in one sector or industry, then basically other sectors you can basically take the hit, because it is in a dream world that all the sectors will be booming. It is not happens like that, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So what is a smart city? So a smart city is a technologically modern urban area that uses different types of electronic methods and sensors to collect specific data. Information gained from the data is used to manage assets, resources, and services efficiently. In return, the data is used to improve the operation across the city, isn't it?
Yes.
I think some of the videos you have already seen, so I am not going to go through the videos again. I hope you have seen some of the videos around the world, the smart cities, right? Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Now, let's go to an example of the Patras smart city that is in Greece, which we explained also, right? Where basically using the IoT, how they're able to manage the smart lighting and the smart parking, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So we have seen how the life of the people in the Greece city has become more congenial, and using the smart parking, they can park the car very smoothly and they can find out where the parking spaces are available. And lighting also, reduction into the energy can be done, because if the any no movement in the street, the light automatically switches off. Right? Let's go to the next benefits. We have seen that. Now let's go to the Taiwan. Now here what is happening is that they have created an app where basically using the app you can find out the residents, because it's a very, very small country. It's an island in fact, which are available. They can park their cars, so the residents also can earn some money. Similarly, the people who are coming from outside can park their cars safely, and using that, they are able to basically help the people of that city to earn some more money, and the who are coming for the business can actually park the car properly. Now, how many, if you go to Singapore, right? If you go to the Singapore industrial area or business area, you will find is that every where there are some toll charges. So once your card passes, there's like a barcodes in your card, automatically it will get amount deducted from your bank account, right? Because again, Singapore is a small country and they not encourage too many cars in Singapore. So basically, if you have to buy a car, in fact, the parking charges in Singapore is very, very high, and also the road tax and other things, right? So people, they want you to prefer to basically use the public transport. Of course, metro in Singapore is very, very good. There are buses also that basically goes to each and every part of the city. So this is how they encourage the people to use the public transport more and not to have cars. Next is that creates more of carbon dioxide also. So that is how they want to manage and create a Singapore as a more of a smart way. And everywhere there are CCTV cameras, so they can monitor from a monitoring room. all the places. So you won't find many polices or this thing into the streets, but everything is controlled and monitored from the monitoring room. Any question, students? Hello, students. Any questions?
No, sir. No, sir.
So you can see around the world how basically they're able to manage the system, because you need to be smart with your resources, how you are able to manage. Because if there have been too many cars in Singapore, what will happen? There will be huge traffic jams everywhere. Of course, in the office hours, there are jam already, because whatever the people go in the car and this thing, that creates a problem, right? So this is how they want to tackle basically the traffic jams also. So let's watch a video on Japan, maybe.
You see, I was talking to one of my friends and asked him, buddy, how many streams of income do you have? He said,
Look down, you'll see a futuristic city nestled between the sprawling green tea fields. That's Toyota's $10 billion woven city. It has an innovative basket-like design that's intertwined with 3 types of roads, smart houses, research facilities, and an underground transport system. 360 of Toyota's best inventors live in Woven City, and they are constantly working on new technologies to assist the city's residents. Woven City is years away from becoming a reality, but today we're giving you a sneak peek.
So, as you can see, this is one of the cities in Japan, and Japan is known for the technologies, isn't it? And Woven City is one of the cities you will be amazed to see the amount of technology advancement in the city is having. And based on that, they're not only making the life of the people very, very easy, you will find with the technology and advancement, how basically they're able to manage the whole overall city in a much better way. Yes, student.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Let's see.
Let's head down for a closer look. It looks like that $10,000 Toyota e-Pallet autonomous vehicle is empty, so let's hop inside and take a drive through Woven City. The first thing you'll notice is just how big the city is. It was built on 175 acres and is home to 360 inventors, as well as seniors with mobility issues and families with young children. Eventually, 2,000 Toyota employees will call Woven City home, and there will be people from all demographics living here, including retirees, scientists, and retailers. You'll notice that Woven City uses a unique grid system made up of 3 types of interconnected roads. We're on a road built specifically for autonomous vehicles. But over there, you'll notice a road made for pedestrians as well as people on bikes or scooters. That road over there doubles as a linear park and is only for pedestrians. All 3 types of roads flow together seamlessly. Traffic congestion is never a problem in Woven City, and the roads elegantly weave through the smart houses and buildings. You'll also notice that there's no pollution in Woven City. The air is crisp and fresh because there are miniature parks around every corner. The roads are lined with shrubs, fruit trees, and cherry blossom trees. In true Japanese fashion, Woven City's technology blends seamlessly with nature. There's one thing that you can't see as we drive through Woven City: the sensors. These sensors collect data that can be used to improve the artificial intelligence and robots in Woven City. Woven City is a living laboratory, so the data that's collected can be used to develop other smart cities around the globe. Governments around the world are expected to spend $41 trillion on smart.
Yes, students. So $41 trillion means, do you know how much it is? Indian GDP itself is only $3.5 trillion currently. So you can understand it's almost 12 times of Indian GDP they're going to spend. So you can see about the future, right? Why I'm talking about the smart cities. So that is why this is another area where we see a huge potential for all of you. Any questions, students?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, let's move.
City infrastructure over the next 20 years, so that information is invaluable. Let's take the e-palette over to Woven City's Central Plaza. Woven City's Central Plaza is more than just a town square. It's a place where the city's residents can shop, socialize, or even attend a concert. The robots that work in Woven City can put together a concert stage in no time, and you'll notice that the Toyota e-pallets parked in the Central Plaza double as miniature retail shops. They can even be used as food stalls during festivals. There are research facilities all over Woven City, including one at the top of that retail shop.
So, student, you know the FIFA World Cup was happened, right? Where it happened? Yes, student. Hello, students. Are you anybody interested in football? Hello.
Is it Dubai, sir? Saudi.
It happened in Qatar also, right?
Yes, Qatar.
Okay. So they have created those stadiums, right? How they have created those stadiums is basically which can be, they can dismantle it and create into malls, because the number of people in the Middle East, those countries, is very, very less. So they cannot have so many football grounds. So they created a smart way. So those, after the World Cup matches, some of the stadium they will dismantle, created basically some public places like malls and other things. So you have to imagine how smartly they need to build those, so they can, at a lower cost, they can dismantle and use it for a separate purpose.
We can take a look inside by driving to the top via the roadway that's built directly into the side of the building. This is where engineers and scientists work on new technologies for Woven City. Over there, you'll see an engineer designing new autonomous vehicle tech, which is something that happens on a daily basis in Woven City. Toyota purchased Lyft's autonomous vehicle division for $550 million, and the company is now one of the world's leading AV manufacturers. There is also a robotic team hard at work in this research facility. Over there, you'll see engineers working on a $2.5 million THR-3 humanoid robot. The robots roam the city freely, helping residents with daily tasks. That engineer is testing a ceiling-mounted robotic butler. It's a type of gantry robot which was first developed by the Toyota Research Institute following a $1 billion investment. You'll find one of these robots in every Woven City smart home. Speaking of smart homes, let's take a tour of one now. The smart homes in Woven City combine traditional Japanese craftsmanship with eco-friendly technology and robotics. Every smart home is made from carbon-neutral wood and built using the ancient art of Japanese wood joinery. No nails, no hammers, no carpenters either, at least not human ones. Woven City's smart homes were built by robots. You'll notice that every smart home is topped with solar photovoltaic panels. These panels power the homes, and excess energy can be stored and used in other parts of the city. Let's head inside this smart home for a closer look. Over there, you'll see the home's robotic gantry arm tidying up. The robot butler can also assist residents who have mobility issues. Don't worry about restocking the fridge or taking out the trash. That's all done automatically using sensor-based artificial intelligence. The home's AI can even monitor your health and remind you when it's time to exercise or get some fresh air. Toyota micro-pallet robots can deliver packages directly to residents. These miniature 6-wheeled robots simply enter the home via a mini elevator that's connected to an underground system of tunnels called the Matternet. Speaking of which, let's follow one of these cute mini robots and take a look at Woven City's underground infrastructure. All of Woven City's support facilities are located underground, from the hydrogen power system to the storm filtration system. They're all seamlessly integrated with the Matternet transport system that reaches every part of the city. The micro-pallet robots are super speedy and can deliver a package in just minutes. So what did you think of Woven City? It may be the most impressive.
Yes, students. So what you understand? You want to leave such a city?
Yes, sir.
Right? So you think, if those smart cities are happening, right? Somebody was saying that the pros. So this is some of the pros. Right? You can live in a smarter way. eco-friendly, because generally they're going to use the renewable energy. And what they're planning to have is basically, you will have basically much better life. But of course, you have to pay a little extra in the property tax or the rent, but the benefits are in a different way. So there will be coexistence of small cities, towns, and smart cities together. Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now think of basic, you going to your home, to the office, or to your college and this thing. If you see a garbage, the smells come out of it, you feel not good, right? You feel absolutely, in the morning, if you go to the office or your college, right? You feel very, very bad. Now think of an basically a smart way where underground your garbage is basically getting separated already using the different kind of bins you're using, maybe red color, blue color, yellow color, pink color, right? The glass, the basically vegetables, or basically the other from your house, and directly using the suck mechanism. It is basically underground through the city and going to the garbage, and with it getting segregated, and basically when you in the road you're traveling, you don't have to smell the garbage. Won't you feel better?
Yes, sir. It would be much easier.
Next, you think from that garbage or wastage, you are able to generate energy, because turning those garbage into energy. So that is another renewable way of energy generation that is happening. Think of those organic waste from your kitchen going to some plant and getting an organic manure. So the food you're having coming from the organic fertilizer. Isn't it good for you and your health?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right? Similarly, think if you are basically using solar panel in your house, your electricity bill comes down. Using basically the buses or the vehicles in the city, using hydrogen oil or basically EV batteries, then you can have fresh air when you're traveling in the city. Think of you and your parents. For example, you go to your office, right? Your parents are old. If there are sensors available in your home, they can, using the facial recognition, using basically the temperature, automatically it alerts you and the doctor nearby that not well. Immediately a doctor can arrive and it is taken care, so you can work peacefully. Right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So you can see how basically using the IoT, how using the AI, you're able to basically help yourself and your near and dear ones. Right? So you can see how basically there is a whole change in the ecosystem, how dynamic this world is going to be. You have heard of Elon Musk, right? Talking about putting basically multiple AI devices and also chips into the human. Of course, those are under discussion, where you don't have to carry your basically credit card, debit card, maybe using implanted in your hand. Whenever you go or using that, you can pay the whole basically whatever you're purchasing and this thing. So those are also going to come into the future, something what people are thinking of, right? Any question before we move on?
No, sir.
Okay. So let's go and share and go to another basically. I think where we were, I think here, right? Now, we want to go and take you the impact of Russia and Ukraine war. Why I'm saying it is already continued for more than a year. Isn't it? So let us understand what is happening.
humanitarian crises, but resulted in economic devastation that will reverberate far beyond Ukraine's borders. Ukraine is the largest country by land area entirely in Europe, and despite its struggling economy, it plays a crucial role in global trade. Called the breadbasket of Europe because of its highly fertile soil, Ukraine is the world's 5th largest exporter of wheat and the 4th largest exporter of corn and barley. It's also the top exporter of seed oils, accounting for 46% of the world's sunflower oil supply. Ukraine's agricultural exports flow mainly to the global south, with countries such as Indonesia and Lebanon heavily dependent on its grain to feed their populations. Beyond its
In fact, you will be amazed to know Egypt, Turkey, in fact, where they eat a lot of breads, right? Because Egypt has got very less agricultural land, they do not grow. Fully dependent on Ukraine wheat or Russia wheat. And if the supply is not there, what will happen to those poor people? If the price increases, what will happen to the poor people in the Africa? They will be die of starvation.
agricultural capacity, Ukraine is rich in minerals. With the mining industry worth more than $15 billion, the country is the world's 5th largest exporter of iron and the 4th largest exporter of titanium. It's a significant producer of gallium and germanium, which are used on semiconductors, fiber optics, and light-emitting diodes. Ukraine also produces nearly 70% of the world's neon and 40% of its krypton, both used in the semiconductor manufacturing process. A disruption in the supply of these technology-critical elements will likely exacerbate the existing global chip shortage.
So, students, I hope I've already told you about the chips in one of my sessions, right? Whatever you do in IoT, right, it has got a chips. Now, you need to understand, if there is a global shortage, what will happen? Everything, the prices from your car, mobile phone, the smart TVs, smart fridges, everything will increase around you. So there will be, everywhere there will be increases. So in fact, it's going to affect the smart cities or whatever, the cost of that will go up. Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right? So you can see, maybe we were thinking, what is Russia and Ukraine war is with me. But ultimately, any global, basically this kind of, which going for so long has an impact in our day-to-day life also. Because ultimately, whatever you are earning, right? If your spend gives more than that, then your basically your living standard is going to get affected. So that is why these are also has got a huge impact in our life. Okay, any questions before I go to the video? Any other questions?
No, sir.
Caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Disruption of Ukraine's exports is only part of the story. Russia's invasion has severely crippled its own economy. As 1/6 of the world's landmass, Russia's share of global commodity markets is massive. It's the world's largest wheat exporter and the top producer of barley and buckwheat, feeding countries such as Egypt, Turkey, and Bangladesh. The country is a key exporter of agricultural fertilizers, accounting for 18% of the world's potash and 20% of its.
So Russia is also world's largest exporter of wheat and also fertilizers. Luckily, India has got a good relationship with Russia, so they are getting the fertilizers. Imagine if you don't get the fertilizers, you cannot have basically production of your crops, right? Because the productivity will only increase with the having the fertilizers. So you can understand the global basically prices of the food grain will increase, and that is also going to have a huge impact in one's life.
Ammonia. Russia's extensive mining industry is first in global diamond production, second in platinum, third in gold, and fourth in silver, and is an important source of rare earth metals such as vanadium and cobalt. Most importantly, Russia is the world's largest supplier of natural gas and the second largest oil exporter. Germany is heavily reliant on Russian gas to meet its energy needs. As Russia faces severe international sanctions.
So from Russia, you have got Not 1 and not 2. Right? Gas pipeline. So,
Yes, sir.
so you know what has happened to not 1 and not 2? Any idea?
Yeah, the gas pipelines are from Russia to Europe, Germany.
Yes, so already it is closed. You have heard that there was a blast in the Nord 1, right? And Nord 2 is not operative from the day 1. So others, you can switch on your camera. 16 Infotech also. So what is happening? That's why the prices in Germany, the energy prices has gone up. Now, for example, a chemical factory in Germany, right? It requires huge amount of energy. Now, if your energy cost is very high, or if you go to any manufacturing companies, right, chemicals or other industry which requires a lot of basically energy, your cost of production will be very, very high. If your cost of production becomes very high, what will happen? In the global market, you won't be able to sell. So what will happen? It will have an effect into those economies in Europe now. Slowly what will happen is that their economy will start deteriorating. The people there will start losing their job. So see, the war is happening somewhere. The other countries near to those global is coming, having an effect. Already you will find huge recession is coming into the Europe market. When I was showing you the GDP growth around the world, you have seen that Europe is not doing well, right? This has got an impact. So some of you who are basically thinking to going in Europe to work, or for example, some companies of this thing, or basically IT offshoring to India, for example, that's some of you may be looking, right? What is going to happen? They will cutthroat competition. They want to reduce the cost like anything. More of automations will be there. More automation levers will be there. So it is going to affect the IT aspirants because the number of jobs will come down. Industries will start investing less into the IT, right? So that's going to have an impact to India. Isn't it, student?
Yes, sir.
So I'm just trying to give you the glimpse of the global economy and the dynamism and the social economic global politics and how it's going to affect our life also. Don't think that the war in Ukraine or Russia nothing to do with us, because what we are seeing is that because of this, the major companies around the world are differing their investment plans on ITs. They are just trying to keep whatever bare minimum requirement of the investment in the manufacturing. So what will happen is that there will be basically less money or fund available for IT infrastructure. And of course, with more and more of automations and this thing coming in, there will be requirement of less human. Of course, in the IT field, you need to think and grab those opportunities where the automation using AI, ML, that will be required. Coding will be required. So you can need to think on those lines where you can to grab those opportunities. But as such, basically the low-end work will start vanishing out. Those BPO operations will start reducing. So slowly the value-end part of the ecosystem will come to an existence, where you need to basically look into the process re-engineering, looking into basically how I can basically using the robotics, automation, how I can improve basically the processes, how I can basically automate the work so that the repetitive work can be eliminated, right? And manual intervention will be less. So you can see there is basically a paradigm shift that is going to happen into the coming days, and already it has started. Are you with me? Right. So,
yes, sir.
So let me share the screen again.
Okay. For its invasion and retaliates by suspending key exports, shortages and higher prices in key sectors are likely to be felt all over the world. Yet the disruption is also likely to lead to long-term realignments of political and economic relationships as countries seek to replace the loss of Russian and Ukrainian imports with goods from other countries. The conflict may also accelerate the transition to renewable and...
Okay, so now coming to this. Now that means it's going to shift to the renewable energy, right? Yes, students.
Yes, sir.
So if it shifts to the renewable energy, you have seen that Indian players are already started investing huge amount on that. You have seen in India, right, in the petrol and diesel, already they're saying 20% of the you going to ethanol, right? So that will give to the farmers basically converting this the broken rice of the start into basically ethanol. So the farmers will get some extra money. There will be a different industry that is ethanol is coming up, and basically it will be mixed with the petrol and diesel. And already, if you see 20% of our import from those countries, we can reduce. So we will save forex, and we will be able to generate more industry. Similarly, if you see, there is a huge amount of investment going on in hydrogen fuel, and getting that into hydrogen fuel, basically, it will be helping us to not only meet our own energy, we will be in a position to export around the world. Maybe you are not aware that currently India has got a relationship with Russia. So India is getting a discounted price of the crude. And India is basically the, like Indian Oil, BPCL, HPCL, right? Reliance, or basically it was SR Oil, now it has been taken by the Russian company. They are basically processing this crude oil into the finished petrol and diesel and re-exporting it to the Europe and earning huge amount of revenue for India and forex. So there is, again, you can see a paradigm shift that has happened where basically they used to import from Russia the crude and also the finished products. Now they're routed it through India and China and getting that fulfilled because they cannot change in one day into the renewable energy. If you go to Finland, you will not be able to have any fossil fuel in your car. That has to be a biofuel. So already in those countries also, there are some shifts that is happening from basically the fossil fuel into basically biofuel or into the renewable energy. So that is basically another area where you can see a lot of investments are going on. Right? Yes, students?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me share my screen again. So let me make it full screen. So you have seen what is happening in Greece. You have seen, I talked about Taipei, you have seen the Japan video. Now, let's see, due to COVID and finance mismanagement, an example, what has also happened. So this is another cons that you can see. So which country it is? Yes, students.
Yes, sir.
This is in Sri Lanka, our neighbor.
Yes, sir.
So
Sri Lanka.
So you can see because why it happened to Sri Lanka, right? Now, Sri Lanka has taken huge amount of loan from Mr. China. They are not able to pay. Due to COVID, Sri Lanka has got 2 or 3 kind of business. One is tourism. Tourists not coming to Sri Lanka. Next is they were having basically tea. And if they do not have electricity, they cannot basically get those tea into the CTC, there have to be a process need to be done. Right. Next is farming. So they made a problem. They purchased some organic fertilizer from China, which has got a lot of bacteria and issues. So the whole agricultural land went into barren land. So they were not able to produce. And that created a whole collapse of the economy in Sri Lanka. Right?
Yes, sir.
You can see the people for basically 1 liter of petrol, they're just lining it up. Most of the places, there was no fuel. Of course, Indian Oil provided oil, and of course, the prices oil in Sri Lanka was very, very high and really affected the poor people very, very badly. Now, this is our another neighbor, Pakistan, right? See what has happened to Pakistan. So, you know what has happened because of the Russia-Ukraine war. What happened? The prices of food prices went very, very high, isn't it? Because there are restrictions on the Russian oil export.
Yes, sir. The crude oil prices were very high.
Yes. Yes. So you can see only $13.5 billion of Forex, right?
Yes, sir.
Now we are going to Argentina, Latin America. If you are basically football lovers, you know the country from where Messi and Maradona has come, right? See, any basically World Bank or any development banks give loan at a lower rate of interest will have conditions. So those conditions the country has to follow. For example, they wanted to give a loan IMF. They said that you have to increase your basically the petrol and diesel price. If you know the petrol diesel price is increased, it will affect the poor people because the cost of transport will increase. The good carrying those foods or basically any items will also get increased, and indirectly it's going to increase all your basically bare necessary cost also. Now see in Turkey, what is happening in Turkey. So Turkey is another country, the election is going to happening, and this is where effect of what is happening, increase of the crude prices and Russia-Ukraine war. So, in fact, in case of Turkey, it is basically the government made the country's life more miserable. So they took one after another bad decision. First is that you should not use your forex reserve, right, to use that for your country's requirements, and as such what happens, the all-time low of the forex becomes. That means they have got tremendous pressure. See, if you do not have a high forex, the people will not be willing to sell you because they will going to get the remittances in that currency. The industries will not come. That means you will have an instability. You will not able to pay the loan which you have taken in forex. Overall, the government made a very bad decision. See, if there is a high inflation rate, right? Basically, they should not lower the bank rates. Who are from finance, they know if you lower the bank rates, that means you are pumping more money into the country. And that will basically increase the inflation rate much, much on the high level. So basically, that all the mistakes, what is required, the Turkey started doing it. So you can see another neighbor of us, Myanmar, right? Now let's go and see what is their situation. So what has happened in Myanmar? They toppled the government, and it's now the army is ruling the Myanmar. And as such, a lot of basically restrictions is there and a lot of sanctions, and because of which they're not able to trade with other countries, and no tourist is coming to that country, and the country is suffering a lot. So this is Lebanon, right? So let's go to the Lebanon, another country around the world. And you can see it's already 170% of the GDP they've got loan. going to the land of pharaohs, Egypt. So you can understand the other neighboring countries of Egypt, like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and United Arab UAE, has given basically a loan to them for the Egypt so that they can at least have continue. The citizen of people can continue, right? They need to buy basically foods and other things, essential things. So such a bad situation in Egypt. Now we are moving to Laos. So this is the country in Asia Pacific. Now let's go to Africa, Zimbabwe. I think some of you have maybe have seen Zimbabwe in the cricket, right? A cricketing team used to be there. Now see how horrible the situation is there in Zimbabwe. So this is another neighbor of us. So you can see India is surrounded by so many neighbors whose situation is so bad. You have seen Pakistan, you have seen Sri Lanka, you have seen Myanmar, now you're seeing Afghanistan. So you can understand half of the people in Afghanistan has got food problem. The doctors or basically the civil government or basic necessities are they're not able to get, right? Yes, students. So what you understand? What is happening around the world? If it is not properly managed, right?
Yes, sir.
Then one going to see a huge problem. So others, please come on camera. Hello, if you can come on camera, please. Please switch on your camera, others. Okay. I will talk to you a city called Kyoto City in Japan. Have you heard of Kyoto City in Japan?
No, sir.
Basically, it is one of the cities where a lot of foreign students goes in Japan into the city because you've got very good universities there. And it has got basically a tourist attraction because a lot of tourists around the world goes there in Japan. Okay. Now, what has happened in Kyoto City in Japan is that they had taken basically huge amount of loan to revamp the city because it is one of the tourist spots. And they basically redeveloped basically the museum, and they put a lot of hoardings around the cities to attract the tourist. And for that, since they have taken huge amount of loan, now they need to pay per year interest on those also, isn't it? And the principal, Yemen. What has happened is that you have to understand when you're creating a city, how you going to generate your revenue. Now, since there are so many students is there in Japan from the students, basically the local transport is subsidized or at very low cost. So what has happened is that their revenue from those are very, very less. Next is that students will be always have a less amount of budget. So they will not going to spend too much, isn't it? Lavishly. Next, being a Kyoto city, they want to have a tourist attraction. They did not create a high-rise building. So they have got all low-lying building. And for means that the property tax collection from that city is also very, very less. Now, when they have done this kind of a planning, they were thinking that a lot of tourists will come, and they created a lot of hotels. Unfortunately, what happened due to COVID-19, the tourists also did not come, and the students also flew back to their homes. So the number of people living into that city become very, very less. If the city does not have a revenue, what will happen? It will not able to meet its expenses. It is not able to pay the loans properly. So Kyoto City in Japan is basically another example where the city is said to be going to file for bankruptcy. Understand? So when I'm going to give you an assignment, that will be next month, I will tell you the date of when your assignment will be given. The assignment will be very interesting. Let me show you the assignment that I'm going to give it to you. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
You need to create a smart city. You need to think through, again, similarly, your groups need to be created. And here, Adilakshmi ma'am, Sata ma'am, and others L2. Please ensure, in fact, the students prepare the slides and no excuses will be entertained, because I want the students to present because it is good for them only. In the presentation, think you have planned as a team to create a smart city. Now you have learned about using AI, IoT, machine learning, how you want to create your own smart city. So around the world, I've shown you. You have shown you the both pros and cons. Somebody was asking about the cons. So you have seen the cons. If you do not get basically disturbances, mismanagement of finance, mismanagement of government policies, how a city can, or a place, a country can turn into a big problem, right? So what are the external factors, the geographic, logistic, etc., in your smart city you need to think through and has an impact. Internal factors, it's the IT infrastructure, right? Whether you want to have a manufacturing base or service based industries you want to develop in your smart city, because your smart city you want to develop, which will be based on what? How you're going to generate your revenue, right? There should be some smart factories like Toyota City, you're saying Owen, or basically you have seen the Apple suppliers like Foxconn and others. They have created smart cities where they have got a huge plan, or basically like the Neom city where basically it will be more of a service oriented, where they're going to create a smart city, right? Then, whether in the developed country or in the developing country, you're planning your smart city to be developed, think through on that. Next is that in a smart city, you need to have a sustainable energy for your smart city. Right? If you have a smart city with basically using the power plant generating coming from the coal, right? What will happen? There will be huge pollution, isn't it, students?
Yes, sir.
So you think through. You need to. I'm just giving you a opportunity to create your own smart city. You think of how you can create using the sustainable energy. You can create your own smart city. So what kind of energy you're going to use? What you're going to use in your local transport? Maybe you can use hydrogen, you can use EV batteries. You can think through basically at short distances where your EV charging stations are there, or your replacement of your EV batteries are there, right? Maybe you have to, like the Neom city, it is mentioned that whoever comes cannot use their own cars in that city. You have to use a public transport, which is absolutely eco-friendly and using the sustainable energy. And think through from the finance side, right? What will be your basically generation of income your smart city is able to do, and based on that, what are the areas you want to spend? So it has to be a positive, right, rate of return. Otherwise, if you take a loan to build your smart city, you will never able to return, and your smart city from the day one will become a bankrupt. What you have seen in China will be ghost towns, or you have seen in Sri Lanka, Turkey, mismanagement, Pakistan, which is going huge problem. Now somebody says CPAC, so you can imagine with such a huge condition, with the oil prices going up in Pakistan, they're not able to pay the loans, right? What would be the condition of that country? Right? Any question in this, students? Okay. So you will be all prepared, right? Because the problem is that I want all of you to present, form your team. I will give you the dates next month. So you have enough time where you need to come and present. Now you think of how basically you are going to use basically the latest technology in your smart cities to make your smart cities more smart. And of course, since based on your presentation, we're going to evaluate and provide the star of the basically month, star students, star L2, L3, right? And there are cash awards also, as you are aware. So until unless you do it, you will be not part of this competition, right? So already, I think your director has already told you, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So I'm just give you a hint what we are looking at, because I wanted to get you into some interesting area. You need to think through how you can basically out of the box you can think through, right? And based on that, I want all of you to come out with good presentation. You can form your team. Like an IPL, you can give name to your team also, right? And basically give those names by end of this month to Harilakshmi ma'am. So next month, I will basically, again, the team size should be minimum 3, maximum 5. Otherwise, I want all of you to present. Internally, you need to prepare among yourself and coordinate, because this is a team presentation. So that here you need to well prepared and come for the presentation. This will, when you work in a corporate, right, you're not going to be a solo player. please understand, it has to be a team that we are looking forward. That is why I'm giving this as a team event. Of course, here you got a chance to find your friends and form a team. When you go into the corporate, you don't get that chance. You need to work with all unknown people, right? When you're working with unknown people, you need to show your leadership quality to be part of that team, a team member, and work as an overall team to achieve the goal. So with this, you need to basically focus yourself, prepare the slides, work with your friends, ensure that you get the best out of them, so that as an overall presentation, it comes the best and you become the winner, right? So I want to see all of you to be winner, to come out with good presentation and good slides, right? Any questions?
No, sir.
Right? Then let me close this session for today. And of course, next session, we will have it next month. And after that, I will give you the next session, the presentation date. But I just want all of you to start preparing, think through. And if you have got any question, you can ask me in the next session. Right?
Sure, sir.
Right? So this will be a very, very interesting topic, because you have seen that how much of the spend that is coming up in the future, which is more than $41 trillion, right? So you can understand, if such amount of money is coming into the future to be spent, then so much of opportunities for all of you. Yeah, I think some hand has been raised. Any questions? Yes, tell me. Okay. Then I want to wish you happy weekend and happy Sunday evening, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Wish you the same.
Thank you.